1. I live in a 2-bedroom, 2-story apartment with my roommate, a 36-year-old woman, and myself, a 47-year-old woman. When my roommate first moved in, we had a strong connection, with long, deep talks. She has been a traveler most of her life from South America, and was only supposed to be here temporarily for about 6 months. Then she decided to stay longer because, sure, she fell in love with the city we live. Fast forward 6 months, and things started to happen, such as she would ask me not to leave a paper bag more than a couple of hours in the common area, and asked me to dust off my crystals in the bathroom, and much bigger things started to come up, and she asked me not to ask her questions or to talk when I notice she's in a zone in the common areas. She then would tell me she needed space downstairs to be alone, but I told her this is a community shared space, and if she needs that, she can go to her room. Then she asked me to move furniture so she could put her artwork up and musical instruments, and I sold furniture to make space for her. Then she asked me, because I'm off in the summer, a teacher, if I could go somewhere for a few hours on her days off and would like the house to herself. We argued about it, and I told her I would never ask someone to leave every week just because I want the house to myself. Then she continued to tell me that it's unfair for me to have every day off for 3 months and not give her space. I told her I'm not going to be here every day in the summer, but I can't guarantee I'll be gone either on those days. I also had the intention, when I got this apartment, to have a community vibe where all were welcome. I love having artists and other creatives living in the space with me. And since she is a musician and sings songs from her country, I loved that I had a big open space for her. After she started meeting people, she began to have parties, which I am very open to, and I am very accommodating to her friends, and I love learning about her culture. Fast forward to a week ago, she decided to have a party and specifically told me that 2 of my friends can come, but one of my best friends couldn't come because she didn't like her vibe when she drinks. I'm a responsible drinker and don't get drunk very often, but she blamed my friend for not liking how she acts when she drinks. She's bubbly and friendly and silly. Nothing, in my opinion, that's too crazy. I then began to tell her that if I had a party, I would never uninvite a specific person, even if I didn't like them, because I can deal with someone for a couple of hours, and because they are your friend, I would not specifically single a person out. She went on to tell me that it's her party and she can have who she wants, and I said yes, but it's my house, that I invited you to live with me, and any of my friends are welcome any time. It's one thing to not invite someone because they are distrustful or obnoxious, but this feels like a competitive catty thing instead. Rewind a couple of weeks ago, she was rude to my girlfriend in front of me for blaming her for interrupting her at a bar while she was talking to a guy. But I was standing right there and she was just coming up to say hi. This whole thing feels toxic to me, because she is blaming my friend for her annoyances instead of just telling her she's in the middle of a conversation. We came up with a compromise that if she has her parties, none of my friends will be invited, because I can't deal with anyone being singled out, and if I have a party, it will only be my friends, but if we have a party together, then we invite all of our friends. She did end up apologizing for how she was, but it took talking for almost 2 hours. I don't really have time for this in my life, not sure what to do. This still feels really out of place of what I wanted in my home, and if she's going to judge someone that hard, this is more of a character flaw in her that I don't resonate with. I'm worried what might happen in the future with a different person. I feel like I've been really accommodating to her, maybe too much, and now she's starting to feel like she can walk over me. I would love some advice. Hellfreezer's note, here's your advice, kick her out. As you said, it's your house. I'm not sure what kind of an agreement you have with her. If you have like an official lease, check the terms that you agreed to and see how long you have to allow her to stay. If it's just a verbal thing, as it sounds like it might be, she was meant to be there for 6 months, and then she decided she was going to stay. Well, 6 months are up. She's overstayed her welcome. She can go put on her walking boots and find somewhere else to live. Maybe someone else will enjoy putting up with her. As for you, your home is a sacred place. It should be treated that way, and she's not respecting it. She's essentially just a guest that's overstayed their welcome. I hope it all works out for you, and if you choose to have another person stay with you, your vibes are much more in sync. 2. Here's a setting. both working at a flight school in the same airline cadet program as flight instructors. The school rents out apartments at a nearby complex for the flight instructors to use. There are 2 bedrooms and each person has their own room. We just obviously share the common areas. My original roommate had moved out as he lost his job at the school. To consolidate for new instructors coming in, they had me move to this other guy's apartment. Rudy. He is around his mid to late 30s. Rudy was known to everyone he had roomed with as a terrible roommate. I had the end in sight already, as my fiancée and I were about to get our own place, so I'll just bite the bullet. In a 1-month span, this is what I had to deal with. I would come home from work, and all my shoes were untied, and the foam inserts in the shoes would be taken out and put next to my shoes. He would turn up the heat in the apartment to almost 85 degrees, and whenever I would lower it to the mid-70s, he would remove the thermostat controls and put it in his room. He would snoop in my room when I was gone. One day I had left to go get a new pair of glasses from Costco. My fiancée was over and she was just hanging out in my room. He didn't know that. He walked into my room and my fiancée told me about it. I set up a Ring camera in there after that, and he would snoop and look at my drawers and take my video games without asking. He took the caps off my car tires. He reported me to the flight school staff for making dinner at 7 p.m. on a Friday night because it smelt bad. It was spaghetti. He reported me to the flight school staff because I had left the apartment to go to work, and it bothered him that I got something out of the fridge. I had COVID, and I went over to my fiancée's parents' house because I wasn't trying to spread it to him. After 5 days of crashing at her house, she and her fam all had it, so it was just us and nobody who didn't have it. I needed to grab clean clothes and more toothpaste from my legal residence, my shared apartment. So I went in to grab some stuff. He had gone into my room and taken my laptop because I wasn't using it. Then he reported me to my flight school staff because I had gone into the apartment while I had COVID. He took the Wi-Fi router and put it in his room and wouldn't plug it in because me watching movies was slowing down his gaming. He stole 1 plate and 1 cup from my set of dishes as I was packing up to move. My fiancée, now wife, and I had a little YouTube channel where we shared our travel adventures. TMI, I've never been with anyone but my wife. There's a reason I say that. He went on a fake account, easily found out it was him by attempting to log in, just to comment, "Nice to see you with someone and not the girls you hooked up with at the Flappy Bird flight school." Trying to ruin my relationship when I had literally never done anything with anyone. The guy is now an airline pilot. If I ever walk into a JetBlue flight and look into the cockpit and see him, I'm walking out. He is a psychopath. 3. Getting really sick and tired of this. When all 3 of us moved in, I was trying to figure out how to decorate the living room loudly so we could all discuss what to do. I was met with an immediate, "I don't want this filled with useless clutter and reasons as to why decorating will give him more anxiety, followed by more excuses." So I held off on decorating so I could just focus on my room, since they made it clear that they want it relatively empty and simple. Other roommate just takes his side, because they're a thing, I guess. Okay, whatever. But then, without asking anyone, he hangs up guitars, without measuring, and has to reposition them a few times because of it causing multiple drill holes. Then his cat towers and litter boxes are in the living room as well. Then his plant decorations that used to be in his room, and then he brings up that he's buying a desk to have in the living room. Literally already bought it and arrived an hour after we talked, for him to be able to work out here, so he can be leveling up for his freelance mixing job. I'm angry because, as discussed during the conversation I had when he mentioned he was buying a desk, that I feel like I'm not even able to think of redecorating, and you've been turning the common area into an extension of your room. He just responds with, "Well, we're all musicians, so I figured it was fine." Or, "I had plans to do stuff like this when I moved here, and really need to level up so I can make more money, as I couldn't do this at the last place, and have nowhere else to do this." That's when I recommended he should get a studio space of his own. I don't want to be a dick, but I feel like I need to remind him I'm the only reason we got approved to rent out this house, as my credit score alone was better than theirs combined. And I just feel like I'm not being respected at all. My fridge space isn't even respected, as the whole fridge gets dominated by him over buying food and taking up space, to where I had to move my belongings back after he tried to move my food and make room for his drinks. I can't do anything without his approval because he feels like he is the man of the house, since he's 40s and I'm 25. But I do not know how to make him actually have a conversation, instead of him hitting me with BS excuses to dodge any point I bring up. I hope that's a good way to word it. As an example of what I mean is this. I bought a washer machine and a Ring camera. He constantly wants to supervise me and act as if he bought these items. He usually tells me he's a man, he can do it by himself, if I ever offer to help. So in this situation, I say exactly that. My response: I'm a man too, I can handle this, and I bought these and paid for installation service on the washer, so I'll be fine. His excuse example: I live here too, and I want to make sure I can help if needed. That really annoys me, because when I bring up me living here, he doesn't hear his hypocrisy. I feel constantly not allowed to do anything without him being nosy, and making me feel like less of a man. When I do things properly, and measure for starters, while he puts on this act of being the man of the house to impress the other roommate. It honestly just feels like he really wants it to feel like only him and her live here, with minimal to out-of-sight view of my existence. And that really hurts, and makes me feel outnumbered to do anything. Hellfreezer's note: your feelings are correct. You were just a convenience to them so they could get the place. As you say, they couldn't have gotten it on their own. And as for his protestations of not wanting to have anything in the living room, to keep it quite minimal, that was just so you'd keep your stuff out of there, so he could, put his stuff in when he was ready. Sadly, it sounds like you're probably stuck to a lease for a while. See if there's a way you can legitimately get out of it. If there isn't a way to break the lease, because you do not want to damage your credit score. You work very hard to earn that. You want to hold on to that. It will help you a lot in the future. Stick it out as long as you can, and do not renew the lease when it's time for renewal. And then run for the hills and leave those two behind. Because Mr. Leveling Up, oh goodness, okay, I'm going to go on for a bit here. Guys, especially guys in their 40s that talk about leveling up, I say this as a guy in his 40s, are never going to go anywhere in their desired careers. The kind of people who will be successful are the ones who can knuckle down and make do with what they've got without leveling up. And if things are successful, then you can level up. Okay, I'm gonna hush up now. I hope it works out for you. 4. I'm a firm believer that if the same problem keeps occurring, you're the common denominator, and perhaps you should look in the mirror. Which is what makes this post funnier. I previously shared a story with my former roommate who owed me thousands of dollars and secretly moved her boyfriend in after I told her she couldn't. And then, when I was out of town, my bedroom camera for my cats picked up her going through my drawers searching for pills. I never confronted her about it, I just told her she had to move out because my friend was moving in. My friend bailed on the apartment, which is fine, but I went on Craigslist and found someone I thought would be great. She's even worse. This girl is young and sweet and seemed very kind and polite. She wore a mask throughout our interview. I was late for a rehearsal, so I didn't have a ton of time to give her an in-depth interview. And she wanted to give me the deposit immediately and move in tomorrow. She was great with my cats. She was really nice, almost too nice. Like she would enter the apartment and check to see if I was home, knock on my door just to say hi. I don't know, but she seemed harmless. I got really sick suddenly. She still had never took her mask off and seemed pretty stressed about my sickness. I kept to myself, but at 3 a.m. when I was all out of soup and felt like my body needed some food, I walked to all 3 bodegas in my neighborhood, Bushwick, and they were all closed, and without asking I decided I would take 1 slice of her bread. I know, I'm stupid. I knew the next day I had my friend's car to go to Trader Joe's and would fill the whole fridge with groceries and tell her she could have any and all of my stuff. I enjoy having a full fridge and I enjoy sharing my things. Breadpocalypse. She flipped all the way out without the bread. Called me a thief and a liar. Was her name Javert? I felt awful and showed her the cake I bought for her and a whole other loaf of bread and things. Turns out her germophobia is so intense that it was like I murdered her grandmother. We tried to talk it out, but she was so outraged it was impossible. She just requested that I don't act passive-aggressive and don't do it again. Of course I wouldn't. The next day she installed a camera in the kitchen attached to her bedroom door facing the fridge with a motion sensor and a big blue light that comes on every time I go to the kitchen. She started daily accusing me of other things I wasn't doing. That I messed with her new loaf of bread, that I'm listening to her conversations, that I'm keeping track of her comings and goings, because I leave my door open so the cats can go in and out, that I moved the mattress from the garbage so that I could spy through her window more often, that I'm putting my groceries around her groceries so that she has to touch my things. Stuff I never could have imagined. I had a friend come and cat sit who was very quiet and polite. She flipped on him, claiming he was peeking into her room when he came into the house. He's not even attracted to women. Nor would he care what she is doing. He tried to be kind to her too, but she ended up sending him a bunch of mean messages because he didn't mediate her problems with me well enough. She now hasn't paid rent this month. I don't think she works, but she claims her job owes her back pay. She won't move out. She claims she'll either leave at the end of July or possibly June. But who knows what she really intends to do? She won't allow me to show other tenants her bedroom. She insists I turn my back when she enters her own room because she doesn't want me seeing inside. She calls me names, attacks my artistry, finds every way she can to insult me, and say horrifically rude things to try to get under my skin. I have known this girl for less than a month. She's also probably 15 years younger than me, although I have never asked her age. She insists I'm gaslighting her. But what is a word for when you make someone feel crazy because they are a raving lunatic? Had to vent because this whole thing is driving me insane, and every other part of my life is going well. Thanks for reading, and would love to hear folks' thoughts on all this chaos. I admit the things I've done wrong, like taking someone's food without asking, but the other stuff is straight out of a movie or something. Hellfreezer's note. Yes, you were very, very wrong to take the bread without asking, and you understand that, and I'm sure a lesson has been learned that you shall not repeat. However, what you need to do is you need to get a bunch of friends around while she's out, make sure she's going to be gone for a few hours, pack up all her things, have the locks changed, dump her stuff outside, and pin a note to the door written on a slice of bread, saying, "You're evicted." Or just wait until the end of June or July, and if she's not gone by then, definitely force her out. Because she's making her problems your problems, and that is not acceptable. I mean, you're not dating. It's not a matter of, helping your partner with their problems. She's just a difficult person that you're living with. Best of luck with it. 5. During COVID lockdown, I was in a house with a guy who was a clean freak. Imagine your sister comes to visit you with a friend. She eats an avocado. The friend receives bad news and starts crying, so your sister puts her bowl on the side and goes to give the friend a hug, and he starts freaking out at her because of it. Whilst living with him, I definitely picked up some better habits as a guy in my early 20s, but sometimes it felt like my life revolved around the cleanliness of the house. If we cooked something, it was offensive for him to be able to smell it, no matter what it was after we ate it. On top of this, he enjoyed torturing the neighbors with garden raves, loud brass instruments, and house-shaking funk music. Everything has to be his way, or people would suffer. I remember us being in the car together, and because I disagreed about something minor and would not back down, he, the driver, drove headfirst towards a lorry, semi-truck, to try to scare me. A favorite memory is finding out when he went to a busy park in the summer, wanted his own space. So played the trombone super loud and badly so everyone cleared off and he could enjoy peace. A friend who witnessed it said she heard a loud, horrible noise, and there he was, an almost naked person in the middle of nowhere, who were all getting out of there. I really was so bad at setting boundaries back then. He bribed me into wearing a Nazi flag as a cape because I can speak German. Another interesting fact about him was his woman advice. One day he came to me in the poo chef and said,
"Boys, let me tell you something. I know a lot more about women than you do. If you ever let a woman have the last word when you've ordered her to shut up, then you're not a man anymore. It is true. If you ever get a girlfriend that annoys you or won't shut up, you tell her to close her mouth right now with authority, and don't speak to her or give her any attention until she apologizes. It is true."
Nope. Enter Poop Chef. This was a morbidly obese guy in his 40s who worked as a chef. Initially, he sealed himself in his room, but after a while started hanging out more and more around the communal areas. The clean freak roommate one day came down to the living room to show me the bathroom rug, which was spattered with brown stains. It was not just on the rug, but under the rug and spattered on walls and the sink. He was so mad and asked if I had pooped on the rug. I had not. And when the poo chef was asked, he just said,
"Oh, that was a terrible day. My guts hurt so much."
The clean freak wanted to tear into him, but I literally asked him, "What would Jesus do?" And he asked me to deal with it because I am much, much gentler. Maybe too gentle in this case. But when I came across used loo roll lying around on the floor and then excrement on the white bathroom towels and tap faucet and handles, I would find him and ask him to please get rid of it. Over time, a terrible smell began to emit from his bedroom like gut-wrenching. We discovered that he did not wipe his butt, and the poop stains were so bad that putting his undies in the wash basket made everything else poopy. Then Clean Freak had a fit when the smell reached his bedroom. The poo chef at one point had an Irish girlfriend, who all his friends advised him against being with. My brother was visiting me the day they had their first date, dinner at the house, and he asked me and my brother if we might consider sitting upstairs during the dinner in case she assaulted him, and he could call out to have us rescue him. The relationship got serious, and I would lie in bed with this guy talking to his girlfriend on speakerphone on the other side of the wall, and them planning on getting married and having kids together after just 1 week of knowing each other. In the end, the girlfriend started manipulating him and her ex together, and he got out of there. Enter the 17-year-old. My little brother's friend was so desperate to move out of his parents' house, the Clean Freak was moving out for a month, so we offered him to stay with us while he looked for a place. This guy did not know how to cook or clean. He had been spoiled and waited on at home, and he was very, very self-centered and rude. My sister and I felt kind of responsible for him as our younger brother's friend. She did some very kind things for him, and he would talk about her behind her back as if she was a second-class citizen, which I did not take kindly to. On top of that, he would steal my food sometimes, and at times call me to come home from whatever it was I was doing to try to have me make him dinner. Our neighbors were a family that were going through a lot of stress and falling apart. They were sick of the Clean Freak's noise, setting fires in the garden, etc. They told me that if I wasn't their friend, they would have done something terrible to him a while ago. The Clean Freak was learning to drive and had to have a fully licensed person with a full permit sat next to him to be legal. He got the poo chef to sit next to him often, but not at night, and the neighbors noticed. On the day the 17-year-old moved up and the Clean Freak was moving away, he parked his car across all their parking spaces at once. We all four rode in the car to drop him off at the bus station, where the poo chef would drive home. As we got into the city, suddenly we were boxed in and stopped by 3 police vans. They said they had received a report of driving without a full license, and nobody sat next to him with a full license. He wasn't doing anything illegal then, so he got away with it. But when the poo chef opened up the glove compartment in the car, it revealed a lighter that looked like a pistol and a huge stash of caffeine tablets that looked really suspicious. We were immediately handcuffed, dragged out of the car as we were searched. Obviously, we didn't have any weapons or drugs on us, so we got away okay. The 17-year-old called his dad, who called my dad. Then I was called, with everyone wondering what in the world was going on. In the end, I moved away a couple of weeks after the 17-year-old arrived. I just needed a different space. The 17-year-old found a place in the same town where I had been living, and the poo chef told me that if he was out walking and got tired, he would sneak into the house, as he still knew the codes, and take food or a snack to strengthen him the rest of his day. The poo chef moved to look after his disabled mum, and the clean freak stayed and had what my sister called a scary goth vampire man move in, who terrified him and would key his car out of spite. Who would you prefer as your roomie? Hellfreezer's note, I don't have a car, so I'd take the vampire any day if I had to have a roommate. But, oof, my heavens. And how do you not wipe your butt? How can that be comfortable? Oh dear, oh dear. Anyway, I'm gonna go away and not think about that. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Bad Roommates, episode 22, and thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do poke the like button and share the video with friends and family. If you'd like early access to these videos to get them all on the Monday all at once, then support me on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. We're trying to get that up a little bit. It's a good amount right now. Everyone's very generous. But if we can get more supporters, the more we can get on there, then the longer I can keep doing this. So, fingers crossed. You'll also find links to the Hellfreezer Discord in the description, as well as a link to the Hellfreezer merchandise store on Teespring. And if you enjoyed today's video, you can leave a tip by clicking on the heart with the $sign underneath the video. But none of that is ever required. The videos are always there for you, as they have always been. But it is appreciated, and it helps me keep going as long as I can. Okay, no other business today, I don't think, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is... We'll keep this one simple. What movie are you looking most forward to this year? Well, the rest of the year. For me, there's a new Beverly Hills Cop movie coming out soon-ish. I'm not sure of the exact date, but it's soon-ish. And I had watched all the other ones over the past few months, so it was good timing. I'll be looking forward to seeing Eddie Murphy as Axel Foley again. Why don't you let me know what your answers are? If you have one, maybe you don't watch movies, and that's fair enough, but if you have one, leave it in a comment below. And before we go, let's have the answer of the day from a previous video. And today's answer comes from Nova Brilliant. I use monk fruit sweetener in coffee and tea. If I don't have monk fruit, I'll use keto honey or stevia. Thank you very much for your answer, Nova Brilliant. Monk fruit sweetener, that sounds interesting. I might look that up. And with that, I'm going to head off for now because the birds are chirping, and that's an indication that it's time for me to probably think about going to bed. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.